Hello, and welcome to our very first episode of our podcast, Sister to Sister. I'm Eileen Lemelman, your host for the podcast. I want to introduce myself. I am a licensed psychotherapist that have been in practice for over 35 years. And I am the founder of the Sister Group, which is a grassroots organization dedicated to creating a sacred space for women to come together and inspire and support one another and to grow and to heal and to just really access their voice if it has been muted, which many women's voices have been muted over the years. And I also, maybe some of you recognize me, I had a podcast in the past, and I was also a TV host of It All Starts With You. That was born out of the whole idea of loneliness, isolation, and detachment and disconnection and fear during the pandemic. And I was called. To be a voice for women of all generations. I was called to bring women together to share their stories because, listen, we all have stories and we all can learn from each other's stories. And these women that came on my podcast, which by the way was called It All Starts With You, because doesn't it? It all does start with you. Our stories start with you. And so many of the women that came on my show overcame a lot of struggles and adversity and challenges and really didn't let anything stand in their way to be the highest, best, most aspirational woman they could be. And so I'm also a #1 best-selling author, and I am also a co-chair of this very unbelievable mission that I am dedicated to and I've been called to for this mission, which is called the Sisters of Zion. And I'm here today with my co-host and my very good friend, Maureen Midge Lansat. She's the co-chair of the Sisters of Zion, where we're dedicated to helping women grow and heal emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so, Midge, welcome.
Thank you.
I know I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Wow, it's been quite a journey to get here, and it's just begun.
Yes, and hello to everybody.
So why don't you introduce yourself and let us know what your background is and what you'd like us to know about you.
Well, I started out in education with my master's in counseling in the 70s. That's before all the other psychologies came into being. I've been around, I guess, about 50 years, it seems, a long time. And so in the beginning of my journey, I wanted to work with special needs children. And I realized by the time I raised my children that I needed to work with families because I could only get so far with the children. And so then I went into the family systems program for 3 years, and I learned about how to help families. From there, I started my nonprofit. It's called the Healing and Creative Arts Center. And I came up with my theory, and I wrote workbooks, and I implement my theory, and I have a clinic. It's part of the Healing and Creative Arts Center. It's an outpatient as well as intensive outpatient clinic. I also work with the colleges. I train interns, and they love it when they read my website, healingandcreativearts.com, because they find out that I believe in an integrative model. And so I believe healing occurs through medical arts. I definitely respect medicine and the medical community, nutrition, and I also feel that people heal through the arts, through artistic expression. So that is what we are all about at our Healing and Creative Arts Center.
Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful mission that you have at your Healing and Creative Arts Center because not only are you looking at the person individually, but you're looking at them as a whole being in a community, which is really what brought us and is bringing us here today, to really reach out to the community so that we include it all. We include the psychological, we include the emotional, we include the physical, and we include the spiritual.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, you know, Midge and I met from our other co-chair, her name is Goldie. And Goldie, you will meet her in one of our next episodes. So I met her on my podcast over, It All Starts With You. And she was the one who brought us together. And immediately we knew we had a similar kind of vision and mission for healing women.
Yeah, we did.
You know, Midge is such a generous person, and so she wanted us to all gather. There was a group of us that she wanted us to gather in her mountain house for a retreat, but she told me that she wanted it scheduled around me and my schedule. How often do you meet somebody who, through their actions, shows such generosity and such care for another person? It was so beautiful.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. We had a great time.
It was an amazing weekend, right? It was so transformative. It was so healing. Everybody that came brought their unique gifts and shared and presented. And it was at that time where, like, the thunderbolt happened, where you really, had this idea, and I was all in to come together and have a summit, a conference, a retreat that, this was what we did, was just a model, like a mini retreat for what was to come.
Exactly. Yes. Normally when I have retreats up in the mountain house, I usually do everything. And I like to show people how to make bread from scratch. That's a lot of fun. And how to eat healthy, because I believe that's part of the healing as well. And
Well, your bread is renowned, world renowned.
Right. Thank you.
My husband took it up right away, and he makes her bread so beautifully.
And it's got so many good nutrients in it. You can survive on it when there's a little bit of food around. It's just really it's so nutritional for your body, so healing.
Yeah.
And so I also like to share from my theory, which is the 3 workbooks that I've put together. And then that's pretty much a blend of family systems and cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, which heals the emotions. These are all research-based, and they are very good theories, but I teach my interns and my clients how to apply these theories so they can heal their emotions, they can heal their mind, and they can heal their relationships, which is all about the family, really. And there's developmental stages that go through each, individuals go through, couples go through, and families go through. And if we don't master these developmental stages, we're unhappy. And that's where all the dis-ease comes in. But I believe, as you were saying, the different parts for healing are so important, especially relational.
Yes.
And that leads us to what you're going to be talking about and what the epidemic is.
Right. So there are so many women that, well, people in general, but of course I'm speaking to the women who are lonely. There's an unbelievable epidemic of loneliness. You shared something with me earlier. And would you like to share that piece about just how validating this issue is? I mean, it really was highlighted during the pandemic, where people were isolated, people were disconnected, people were detached, people were so afraid, and they started sort of shutting down and really forgetting that being in community and being connected to one another is so important. As a matter of fact, there are statistics that show that, isolation and loneliness is as lethal for people as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
So, it's such an important issue. And it was highlighted during the pandemic, but it started way before that. I mean, I think the whole digital era that we're in, where paradoxically we feel like we're more connected than ever through our phone and through, internet, but actually we're lonelier than ever.
Because there's no intimacy.
That's
It's all
right.
surface.
That's right.
So I was talking to a client this week, and I had suggested that she talk to a psychiatrist. She was having suicidal thoughts, and she told me yesterday, that she talked to the psychiatrist, and they came up with the conclusion she's really not suicidal. She doesn't really need meds. She was just lonely.
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, I love that the psychiatrist, was able to identify it as loneliness. And it's not, it's not simply loneliness. That is really, I mean, I have a feeling very soon that's going to be a diagnosis in the, DSM, because it is really so pervasive, and it's just affects emotional, mental, physical, and the spiritual. And that's what we're going to be addressing the weekend of our summit.
Yes.
So, let's talk a little bit about, not a little bit, let's really dive in to the journey that we're on now, born out of our retreat up in the mountains. And now we're taking it to a whole new level. Really, it's going to be so healing for community, uniting women in solidarity to really get in touch with themselves as well as with each other, because we talk about relational.
Yes.
And, the journey of the faith part also.
Yes. And I want to mention the vision.
Yes.
And the mission. So, okay.
Well, our mission is to bring modern women together in sisterhood, to grow and flourish in mind, body, and spirit. In a world where loneliness has become an epidemic, we provide a sanctuary for women to find connection, community, and companionship. So we were inspired by the enduring bond of Naomi and Ruth. They were in the Bible, and Ruth told Naomi, her mother-in-law, who wanted her to go and find a new husband after her husband passed away. And Ruth wasn't Jewish, but Naomi was Jewish. And she said, go find, somebody of your own. Go live your life. And Ruth said, no, absolutely not. Where you go, I'll go. Your God is my God. And that is the inspired bond. That's the inspiration for our weekend. That we want it to be a place of unity, solidarity, renewal of faith, healing out from the inside out and from the outside in. And that's really what our mission is.
Right. And so, talk about unity. We envision women uniting to restore America to its original foundational purposes, rooted in biblical values. Women hold the power to influence their husbands, families, and communities, making them the driving force behind the cultural transformation. This is the age of the woman, an era where women lead with strength, wisdom, and faith to bring renewal and purpose to this nation. So unifying women, and that's what we're about.
Yeah.
We're going to do that. We're going to unify them in several different ways during the conference.
And
Go
also
ahead.
you spoke about how this is the age of women. So let's talk about that, how women really are being called now to be sort of like the grounding for, as we know right now, we're in not only in loneliness is an epidemic, but there's an epidemic of divisiveness and polarization. And so women, we're being called to bring women together. I mean, listen, physically and, genetically and biologically, we're the maternal sex. And so we're really being called to bring people together in families, in communities, even in government, so to speak, because there's so much division.
Exactly. And we're going to do that. And we're going to express that during the conference. It's going to be a wonderful situation because during the breakouts, we're probably going to have over 200 women at the conference, but you will be, if you decide to come, in your own little group of 15 or 20 people.
Well, let's talk about the conference. I think it's a good time
Yeah.
to really touch on it. So the conference is called Sisters of Zion. That's our mission. That's our organization, and it's going to be June 6th through the 8th, 2025. It's going to be in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Once you click on the link, you'll see all the information. And I think it'll be a great, way for you to familiarize yourself with, our mission, our dedication, our costs, where we're going to be. But you specifically wanted that weekend, the June 6th through 8th. Why that weekend?
Well, that's the holiday of Shavuot. And it's also Pentecost for the Christians. And we want women of different faiths to unify spiritually, so Jew and Gentile to come and to feel comfortable and to unify where they agree.
I love that. So we both agree that is going to be so powerful to bring people, women of all faiths, of all generations, of all backgrounds together to heal together.
And all different ages is so important.
Yes. We really want to encourage old and young to come together. As you age, we can learn from the younger people. And, it's always been that the older women have been sages. And, we have lessons to share also with the younger generation.
Exactly.
So I think it's going to be a beautiful, kind of symbiosis, so to speak, of all the generations.
Yeah, so there's the unity.
Yeah, there's the unity. So we're going to be meeting, we're starting Friday night. Why Friday night?
Well, Friday night is the Shabbat, and it's going to be beautiful. We're going to have the Shabbat meal, and we're going to have singing. We're going to have maybe some dancing. We're going to have a time where there'll be fellowship and business networking. Many things can happen, but good connections, and people will be coming from all over southern Florida, and some are coming from different states.
Yeah, we have some Californians and some
Missouri.
people, Missouri. We have, people from all over, which is going to be so wonderful.
And all different types of people, all different backgrounds, and I love that. That's where the unity and the power comes in, and the power of God is so strong when people of all different backgrounds come together.
Well, you talked about the music and the actual praying. So that frequency together is going to be so high level. And, when we sing together, when we pray together, when we share together, that raises the whole vibration of the environment.
The love vibration is the highest.
Yeah,
And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be amazing, which leads us to the next point in our vision, which is loyalty. And our sisterhood is built on the unwavering loyalty and devotion, exemplified by Ruth toward Naomi, as you said. Through steadfast dedication and shared faith, we walk together in the spirit of Abraham's legacy, proclaiming, "Where you go, I will go, and where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." And that was Jew and Gentile. So that incorporates everybody, really, when you think about
That's
it.
right.
And we want to unify over the biblical Jewish roots. And that's something that's so foundational and so needed. Me coming from a family background, the family's been shattered. over the last 50 years in its structures. And so we want to bring in those structures to give us a foundation so that people won't be confused. People are confused over their sexuality. They're confused over their roles. My male clients don't know how to treat their female clients on a date and vice versa. And that's why we have singles groups to try to bring back the way it was, when things were peaceful and orderly and structured in the way that it had a biblical worldview. And that brings in the stability of the nation again. And that's really what we're about too.
Well, I know one of the topics and themes of the weekend that was so important to us was to really emphasize the Jewish roots. That was going to be very, very important for the weekend. That we all need, both Gentile and Jewish, need to be educated in our Jewish roots.
Yeah. We do.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, the sages of old had so much wisdom. And we want to go back to that to give us a foundational piece of it so that people will be able to feel whole and connected and sure and not be confused anymore.
One of the things you mentioned, and I wanted to speak to it through our our vision, is, women in business, networking, having a place to really connect with other women. Because there was something that you had said, there was a proverb that you talked about.
Proverbs 31.
Yeah. Women as a model of strength. We want to inspire business women to excel in virtue and embody the Proverbs 31 woman described as a model of strength, dignity, and purpose.
That's right. And I mean, I've had clients where they've not really been able to find their man, so to speak. They've been looking, and I've heard from the men too. They go out and they just can't find that person. And I think after I start working with them in my singles groups, and we have another way that we work with them one-on-one too, with communication and psychology as well. But when we blend it all together, all of a sudden their light shines and they just glow, and they know who they are. And this particular one that I'm thinking about, she said, yeah, you get your food from afar. She goes, we're going to go shopping. Let's go to the best places in town and buy the best food. That never dawned on her. She's in her 20s. And so it's just a wonderful foundation. Her family never cared about food. They would just buy the junk food. So she said to her mom, we're going to start shopping healthy and buying good food together. And so the younger is influencing the older, but she's getting it from the sages. From Proverbs 31. Yeah.
And also, you talk about this when we're not nourished properly. And that goes beyond even food and nutrition. When we're not nourished emotionally, when we're not nourished spiritually, when we're not nourished, mentally and also in relationship, we have this emptiness and this. You talk about when we fill that, we glow. That's also the key to really healing the loneliness,
That's right.
is by learning how to nourish and nurture our inner being.
That's right. And people have said to me, I use a certain book, it's called The Loving Parent Guidebook, and it helps people go inside and heal and know who and what their inner family is all about. And another client said to me, I was running everywhere looking for love until I realized it was inside of me.
That's right.
And
exactly.
now she's going inside herself and healing.
Right.
And that's all part of the process of what we do.
So I just want to make a differentiation between being alone, loneliness, and solitude. They're two different things. Because, sometimes we need solitude. Solitude is a time when we can replenish and recharge ourselves. But loneliness is when we're lost and we don't know how to fill ourselves, and we have this emptiness in our soul, in our belly, in our in our system.
Right.
And so, that's what the weekend is actually going to help women to do. Learn the difference between loneliness and feeling lost and solitude and recharging and replenishing.
Yes. And we're going to be filling every void in a person. They're going to be filling themselves, and their needs are going to be met through the whole weekend. It's going to seem like 5 minutes. And after you go home on Sunday after the conference, you're going to say, wow, this went by so fast. Let's do it again soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on a much smaller scale,
Mhm.
at the Mountain House, that's exactly how I felt.
Mhm.
When women tend to women,
Mhm.
when you feel cared for, when you feel seen,
Mhm.
when you feel valued and heard,
Mhm.
that's replenishing in and of itself.
Mhm.
And that's what the weekend is going to be. Let's sort of jump to actually Saturday, the meat of the conference,
Okay.
when we all get together
Mhm.
on Saturday and we gather for the transformation, the healing, the deeper work that we're really going to encourage and inspire women to engage in.
Well, I call that Esther's Court, and I'll explain why. So, if any of you wonder about that, you can read that in the scriptures. The book of Esther is pretty short, but she had her court of women, and she would tend to them. And then in Persia, then she would tend to her husband at times. He would have to put his scepter out for her to approach him. But anyway, be that as it may, Esther's Court. So I've developed a training program for all of the people that will be ministering, leading, speaking, singing, and running the breakout
The
groups.
facilitators.
Yes. And so for 6 months, they're going to be training with me. They're going to be learning about themselves. They're going to be growing. And they're going to be really ready, because when you come, they're going to be ready for you. And they're going to know exactly how to help you.
I really want to emphasize this point because it is so important for people to know when they come, they are going to be held by people that have been highly trained and that they're not just going into, chit chat. They're going to be really encouraged and guided to some very transformational healing.
What I'm teaching them is not just the psychology, which all of them are counselors, but I'm also going to be teaching them the art of facilitation, which is part of counseling, it's an aspect of counseling, and also the specialties of how to mirror, validate, and empathize, and the communication. So everyone that comes through this process, you, them, all of you, will be learning a piece of communication. You'll be learning tools that you're going to be able to take back with you. And when you understand the guidelines for the group and you understand the dialogue, that is how to communicate. If you do that, you will not get into trouble in relationships. That is one
Communication is
thing
key.
that you can take with
Yeah.
you. That's a big piece of it. Not to mention all the self-care topics.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
what we both agreed upon was how we wanted to offer, breakout sessions that were under 4 categories: the physical,
Right?
the emotional, the spiritual, and the, I guess,
Nutritional.
nutritional.
And emotional.
Yeah.
Mental and emotional. Yeah.
So we're going to be, and everybody will have an opportunity to be, get a piece of one of those 4 topics throughout them.
Each of them.
Each person will have a breakout session of nutrition, a breakout session of spirituality, a breakout session of emotional and mental and physical and self-care.
Yes.
So
By an expert in that field.
by experts in that field. So, I mean, this is really high-level stuff we're offering.
And we're also offering follow-up. So if you like your facilitator and you want to stay in relationship with that person, you'll be able to.
Yeah.
So it's not
There'll
like
be
you're
follow-up,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, you're not going to just be left after the conference. But you can join Sisterhood, you can be part of what we're doing. You can come in on the groups and the things that we do to prepare for the next group, if you want to be in that type of situation, or you can just be part of the person that you enjoyed being with and continue with them.
Yeah.
To learn from.
I mean, just imagine
Mm-hmm.
how a woman would feel
Mm-hmm.
after having a day of just being poured into.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be so healing.
Mm-hmm. Healing is right, and that is part of our vision as well. And it's not just for Florida. I mean, we have a global vision.
That's
and so
right.
we are going to need more people to join us and to help us with this mission. So if you're passionate about healing the community, if you're passionate about people healing and families healing, women healing, we invite you to join us and be part of this mission.
Yeah, yeah.
And this vision.
It's true. And, that's how we envision the mission of the Sisters of Zion. It's not just going to be a one-off event.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're really seeing the need. I mean, you and I have been called,
Mm-hmm.
right at this time, such a time as this,
Mm-hmm.
to heal women in community, heal women in the world.
Mm-hmm. And we need each other so we can be strong together. So then we have the wherewithal to pour out into the community. And it's a powerful thing to be in a healthy, unified community.
Yeah,
So
I mean, here we have
another
empowerment through
one.
connection.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of our visions, that we want to inspire not only personal renewal, but spiritual renewal and also community renewal.
I believe healing occurs with connection with God, self, and others.
Yes.
In that order. And we shouldn't put others above ourselves. Only God is above ourselves. We have to put ourselves next, fill up with love, fill ourselves up with love in the way that we feel good. Then we can pour out to other people. If we have that backwards, we're going to be empty.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be beside ourselves. We're going to get sick. And that's what happens to people.
What about the woman watching now who says, "Well, this doesn't really speak to me because I don't really believe in God, and no, that really doesn't speak to me." How can we, speak directly to those people?
Well, this is more like a spiritual journey, so we're not going to tell you specifically who God is. That's up to you. We're not going to judge you if you don't believe in God. This is more of a spiritual connection. We're not bringing in religion. Maybe you had a bad experience. Maybe your religious experience wasn't love. But we're all about love, and that's the big difference. And we're not going to judge you if you don't believe in God. That's fine. But there are spiritual forces such as love, loyalty, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness. That's what we're about. So please don't confuse us. I say God, that's the catch-all.
Yeah.
That's just for people that are, faith-based or come from religious backgrounds. But if you don't, or you've been hurt, we will honor that and respect you for that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I want to really focus on the mission of unifying, solidarity, and, spiritual healing.
Right.
Because, yes, some people think of spiritual as God, but some people think of spiritual as, soul, within the soul.
Yeah, whatever they think is fine. The other reason that I like, and again, I come from the Jewish, so I come from that background, but I think, and I have experienced the festivals, I've learned a lot about healing from the Bible. Not so much religion, but I studied the scriptures when I was a child in Hebrew every day. So I understand them, and I learned all about healing, mind, body, and spirit from the scriptures. And so during those holy days like Shavuot or Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, Feast of Tabernacles, there's already a special anointing of the Spirit of the Lord. And he comes in power. And that leads us to Sunday, of what's going to happen on that Sunday.
Right. But before we get to Sunday, I just want to mention one more thing, because, you talk about how you learn so much about healing. and about the mind, body, and soul healing through the Bible. And you told me something about fat bones
Yeah.
that you learned from the Bible. Can you
Yeah.
share that? Because I think that's such a great.
Well, there's a prayer in there, and I think it might be in Proverbs, that joy makes your bones fat. And there are spiritual forces, which I'm not going to get into all of them, but there's actually spiritual roots for every disease.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
And
that.
there's books and research that have been written on that. They've also done research on prayer in the
Yes.
medical community and how much prayer helps us. So we have all of those tools for you and to help you with all those things. They're not magical. It's very simple. And you will be going away from our conference with many of those tools. They won't be so elusive to you. It's very practical.
Yeah. Prayer and community. And, the spiritual renewal is so powerful.
Yeah. And we'll be very respectful, and we really respect humility and honoring differences. And I think that's what we want to do. We want to love each other, honor each other's differences, no matter how you've been raised, what you believe.
Yeah.
And to just bring you into the community and
I
find
said
the love.
3 Ps, right? There's not going to be no polarization, no politicization, however you say it,
Yeah,
and no proselytizing.
Right.
Those are the 3 Ps of the weekend.
Right.
So I think that's really,
We're going to connect on what we can agree on, which is Scripture.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that leads us to Sunday, which is, now we've done a whole, full day, actually a day and a half almost, of just healing and transforming and being poured into and connecting with everybody and finding joy, getting our bones fat over the weekend.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be stepping into Sunday. Let's talk about Sunday. What is the power and your vision that you had about Sunday?
Well, we're going to be having a woman or two come and speak to us about what's been happening in Israel and what they've been doing to help. They've been working with the government as well as raising funds all over America to help the situation that's going on with the border there. And it says in the scriptures, bless those who bless Israel will be blessed. And so we want to take up an offering, and we want to bless Israel and an organization that is boots on the ground. They're going to take the money right to the people and help them, those that have lost their homes, etc. And
that was so important to me because, a lot of organizations do a lot of good, but very often the money is really taken for the higher ups, like the executives, the administration, and just a small amount goes to the people. This organization that we're, going to be contributing to is, like you said, boots on the ground, helping people really live life.
Yeah, the basics. Have housing until their houses are rebuilt or whatever it is. They do a lot of good work. And they will be speaking and explaining all that, probably with a video and somebody there. And then after that, we also have women coming from different places, different organizations, different churches or synagogues, and they're going to be singing. And there's going to be some dancing and singing and worship. Also, after that, we have Marty Getz coming. Some of you know who he is. And he's a wonderful person who goes all over, and he does concerts. He's lovely. He sings in Hebrew and English, and he's just a wonderful person, too. Wonderful family. He's done concerts in Israel. And he sings with his daughter.
He's actually very, famous. So
he's well known.
He's very well known.
And he's just very humble. So he's going to come. He'll probably do his concert for an hour and a half. And then after that, we're going to have a little bit more music, and we're going to break up into groups again. Only this time we're going to do it more spiritual. So we'll definitely have prayer and maybe some foot washing and some maybe prophetic words over people. It's going to be beautiful in small groups. And then after that, we'll be done. And that's how we're going to end the concert. People can get back together, they can network, they can share their information. They can go back to the resort because some will be staying at PGA National Resort.
Yes, that's where
Mm-hmm.
where we're encouraging people to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And another level of self-care will
Mm-hmm.
be at the PGA National Resort.
Yeah, it's just beautiful there. But they will be across the street at the Marisol Country Club for the event. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be wonderful. First class, we're going to get half off for you and less for everything. It's very reasonable. For the whole weekend conference, it's $350 for all the food and all the therapy and all the speaking and all the
It's
personal
actually
growth.
very reasonable.
And then across the street, you get half off. I think it's a little bit more than 200, and you
Yeah.
get all the amenities of the resort, so you can come. Even if you live in town, you can stay there the night before and stay for a couple days, or just come for a week.
Yeah, I don't live that far away, but I plan on staying the whole weekend and getting some, really some, just make me better,
Fill up.
touch me, heal me.
Yeah, receive.
Receive.
You're
I
gonna
want to
open
be
your
open to
heart for receiving.
receiving. Yes.
We're looking
yes.
forward. And we need to do that, and that's why we're going to do this again.
Yeah.
Because we need to plan our vacations like this, and you can bring your family. There's plenty to do there.
Is that what excites you most about the weekend? What excites you most about the weekend that we're planning?
Well, I love that we're including the family. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I love that I love the process. So I enjoy the training. I enjoy working with the women that I'm working with, getting them ready, so to speak. And then the execution, seeing lives change. I just imagine when we come back into the group together after being in a small group all morning, what people are going to say. Because
Yes.
I've done this process before. It's a special technique that I've kind of created myself. Because I've been to the Tony Robbins events, and my process is a lot different and a lot deeper than what they do. And so I think that the connection is going to be so strong between the small groups and the larger groups. So you do the small group, the 15 or 20 people, and then we're going to come back into the larger group, and we're going to share, what was that like for you? And you're going to see people crying, you're going to see people touched, you're going to see people moved, and it's all going to be authentic because I've seen it before, and it's very powerful, this healing process of the soul. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be totally
And by the time
life-changing.
by the time Sunday gets here, their hearts are going to be open, and then God's presence is going to be there, and His Spirit's going to come in, and you're just going to never be the same. You're never going to want to leave. So that's it. We'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, and we will. We will. This is just the
It's the beginning.
first. I wanted to, and is there anything else that we need to share with?
Just to explain that this sisterhood is about healing. We'll have different topics. We want to feed into the smaller groups that we do, into the clinic if you need support, or into Eileen's sisterhood that she runs. What do you call it?
Well, it's the sister group.
The sister group, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and so there's
I have
smaller groups that meet, and so we don't want you to think that, oh, this is an event and then it's over. No, it's just the beginning.
Well, we're creating a community.
Right. Education and counseling. And
Education,
spiritual healing.
counseling, spiritual healing.
Mm-hmm.
We're, listen, I know we've talked about this. We are here in South Florida, which is a very unusual kind of demographic. And so you ask people, oh, where were you born? Very rarely do people say they were born in Florida. So we have a lot of transplants coming. And when people come to Florida, they come, very often in a not with young children. And it's really hard to find friends. It's really hard to find community. That's one of the things that my patients say over and over and over again to me.
Right.
I can't find a friend. I don't know where to go. And that's one of the real issues, missions, and really that was part of why I developed and founded the sister group. People need a tribe.
Right.
You need a tribe.
And I believe that we need to keep growing. and self-actualizing throughout our whole life cycles, or we're not going to be content. So I love this structure where we are going to be able to handle as many of you as, so whosoever will can come. We're going to be able to handle the structure because we're going to develop more leaders as people come in. We're going to see what your talent is. We're going to promote you as sponsors if you're successful in business. We're going to help you to develop and heal and grow and become more, to get over your blocks, your hindrances, your issues with money. We have my daughter who's developed a whole wealth management educational system.
And she will be one of my guests on the podcast because, you know, we don't want to have poverty mindset.
No.
We want to have an abundant mindset. And so we're going to have, we're covering so many areas that specifically, you know, really speak to women who very often have been told that they can't achieve certain things because they're a woman, or, you know, life is over because they're a certain age, or because, you know, they don't look a certain way, you know, that whole imposter syndrome. So we want to really have this forum for everyone to come.
Yeah. And I think this is going to help people's self-esteem. We're there to help your self-confidence. We're going to help you develop into all that you were created to be.
Yes.
That's what I get excited about.
Okay. Well, I am too. I am too. And so if you've made it this far in the podcast, you probably are all in. I know you are. But I also want to add something that's important about tending to our needs over the weekend. And so, Midge, would you share the 6 basic needs that will be really help women that weekend?
Yes. So you have the need for significance. You have the need for giving back. You have the basic need for variety. You have the need for love and a connection. You have the need for growing. And so and the need for variety. All of those needs are going to be met during this conference. And that's why you're going to be so full.
So Midge is right. Those 6 needs will be met that weekend. That weekend, it's all about the power of women. It's all about transforming, and it's all about healing. So we want you to be a part of it. Let me end with this quote by Maya Angelou. Each time a woman stands up for herself without knowing it, possibly without claiming it, she stands up for all women. That's our call, to be there for all women. Join us. Make sure you share this with other people. It's sure to be a powerful, incredible weekend, and we want you there.